Hi, I'm Mark Small, Civil Discourse Now. It is December 11th, 2024, and another segment now with Cassie Jackson. Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks again for having me on.
Oh, this is just cool and super and groovy.
So
So,
great.
the Lieutenant Governor of elect of Indiana is a person who doesn't like either of us, and it's kind of like I that's the thing of which I'm very proud. It's one time I had a job at Purdue University, and I was talking to somebody else on staff, and they said, with that kind of an attitude, not everybody will like you. And I said, I don't want everybody to like me. There are people that I would really be ashamed to say like me, especially in this instance, to have a Christo fascist like Beckwith. If he liked me, I'd think something was wrong. So what's
Very
the
much.
news?
News. Let me first go ahead and start by shouting out the third member of our little tag team here, Beck, who's doing lots of great work. She's also equally as hated by Mr. Micah Beckwith. Very proud of that. Um, okay, the news. So we have Micah, who is scheduled to come December 20th to Westfield High School, right? Speak to the students. We're still dissenting that altogether. We don't think he should be allowed in the schools. Let me just quickly review that Micah Beckwith, among many other things, is a part of Moms for Liberty, which is identified by the Southern Poverty Law Institute as a domestic terrorist hate group. And so new developments. I wanted to get your opinion on this, Mark. So we had released on our last segment together that, the superintendent potentially was going to be there, school board was going to be there, and that Micah was no longer allowed in Westfield schools moving forward after this date. The fact that Micah did not get on the radio after that announcement or go and start to lash out, because he called I know he called the school. I know he's really upset about that. But the fact that he didn't come on and start talking about how upset he is, he's not allowed to be in Westfield school, that to me is a big win. That means that they put their foot down with Micah, because he can't, his information is the same that we got, which is he's not allowed back in. What do you think about that, or no?
Well, I mean, I I'm almost embarrassed when I hear him speak about anything related to government because he's such a dumbass. So to say, well, what do you think about him not speaking? Okay, usually he's going to talk about anything, even especially if he doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
But for him not to respond to that after having gone on such a big publicity blitz and going on radio station here and saying, and the hosts of that radio show,
Oh,
one of the co-hosts bragging about how they shut down Westfield School Board's switchboard or something like that. It doesn't take very much to dox somebody. I wouldn't be really proud of that. But either Beckwith is a loss for words, which I think would be impossible because I think his brain stem at the very least can come up with a couple of phrases here and there, or somebody has kind of threatened him.
yeah. So I think the Republican Party, especially what came out in Indy Star, that opinion piece on how it's a really, what was the word they used? It's unbecoming of the government for Micah to be even all of it. Yeah, go ahead.
So, well, and you had mentioned, I want to follow up and find out about this, that he was thrown out of the Hamilton County Republican Party.
Yes, he was. It's something that he brags about. And I have had questions from people, which I am not been able to answer if there was a process, because there's a process to have him kicked out. And I just can't speak to that because I don't know for sure. But he's out. And I don't quite understand why he'd be coming into schools if his own party in the county, the schools he's trying to come into, has kicked him out.
Well, but that's something where the county party has an ability to do things on its own agenda, and it's a separate entity. I'm just looking at the local Marion County Republican Party. They function separately from the state a lot of times, but especially up in Hamilton County, they might be willing to put their foot down because they don't.
It's a bad look. They can't afford him.
Yeah, not only that, but Hamilton County used to be considered to be really deep red,
Mm-hmm.
and then went purple, and now it's
Right.
really starting to get blue.
Right. Right.
And that being said, they probably are wanting to try and appeal to as many members of quite possibly what is they view as their future client base.
Well, and also the idea that like his egregiousness and his, you know, it's just it's nobody is down with child abuse, right? Like on all parties, and so it just gets to a level with him where it's like this is wrong, and you're going to harm children. And so, regardless of political party, just as people, I think people are waking up to that. Hopefully.
Well, and that'll be something to keep track of. But also, I was looking here. Um, that's like okay. My journal says that winter begins on December 21st. But where's the solstice in there? That's a pagan holiday.
Okay, well, so anything that has to do with the sun, moon, stars, and stuff, let's hold that conversation because Beck, it knows all about that, and I would love for her to speak. She will do a whole episode on that. Like, I'm gonna seriously, she's very talented. So, I wanted to quickly tell you this though, Mark, in terms of like, in terms of follow up, what's going on, or new development. So, like we talked about, Beckwith didn't clap back on this. Whatever. But so we've definitely confirmed now by multiple people in the school that the superintendent, Paul Kaiser, is going to be there. Now, what's in attendance? Now, what's really funny is that what I'm hearing is that Beckwith is coming and he has to enter through the auditorium. And so this little presentation the students will do, which remember most of the class isn't even doing it, is going to be in the auditorium, which is really funny because that's a really large space. And you would think that people coming in would go into the classroom, right? Especially as a small group of students presenting. I think that this is a way to mitigate safety concerns and risks of letting Beckwith walk through the halls. They're trying to let the least amount of students have access to him or to even see him. He's going to be entering and doing this in the auditorium and then leaving through the auditorium. Let me also quickly say here, we'll be doing a protest. We want everyone to show up 2 p.m. Isabel's Park. I just got off the phone with Westfield Police Department. They were lovely. But what do you think about him coming into the auditorium and not the classroom? I think that's like putting him in his little playpen where he needs to stay.
Well, he'll try to speak any place he is. And he might have had the misperception that just because he's in an auditorium, he's going to have some, well, he'll have the same kind of imaginary crowds Trump had in the middle of last summer.
Well, he's not allowed to get up and talk. He's allowed to listen and then respond to students from what I heard.
Okay, so they're going to bring him into the school, bring him in the auditorium, and he's going to listen to a couple of students talk?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's right. And then he's leaving through that door. It's like, come on. I mean, at this point, why can't those students do it with Micah at his church? Because the students that want him are from his church. They can just go down the church basement, bring their little agricultural projects and get that done.
Because he wants to make as much of a hassle as possible for people in the secular world.
Yeah.
So, but also, aren't there were students that had permission not to attend class that day? Is that right?
Oh yeah, and there are going to be students that are taking off in that school. We're advising people let their children stay home and dissent from all of the schools in Westfield, Washington Township. And come join us for a peaceful protest. There will be police presence there in case there's counter protests, so it should be safe. Just shout out real quick to Captain Mike Sierra of Westfield Police Department, who's super helpful in putting all that together with me in my head in terms of how this is going to look.
Sounds cool. Cassie Jackson, thank you very much for being on today.
Thank you, Mark.
Discourse Now. Well, may the force, whatever, and have a good one. Take care and peace. Bye-bye.